So you have that.
Okay, good morning, everybody.
For staff, right?
I would like to call the meeting of the Human Services Committee to order. Please call the roll.
Chair Swarzy,
Here.
Member Childress, Member Deacon Garcia,
Here.
Member Dessert,
Here.
Member Galassi,
Here.
Member LaPlante.
Here.
Thank you. Do we have any public comments?
No public comment.
All right. With regards to my remarks, first I want to say welcome to everybody to our new committee. I'd like to welcome back members Dessart and members LaPlante. It's nice to have a little continuity moving from last year to this year, and I'd like to welcome our new members, Member Galassi and Member Childress is not here yet. I imagine he'll be showing up. And to my wonderful Vice Chair, Member Garcia, thank you very much for taking on that position, and I'm looking forward to working with all of you. So, also, I wanted to point out in today's meeting, we're going to have some discussion during our care center update on the possible cafeteria upgrade. So that there'll be a presentation on that. It's just for discussion today. So. With that, I will take a motion and a second for approval of the minutes.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any questions or comments? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Motion passes. On to community services. I need a motion to approve item HSP 4723, a recommendation for the approval of a contract purchase order to Family Shelter Service to provide advocacy services to victims of domestic violence. This contract covers a period of December 1st, 2022 through November 30th, 2023 for community services for contract total amount not to exceed $85,000.
Second.
We have a motion by Member Dessart, second by Member Garcia. Any questions or comments? I'm actually going to ask Mary Keating to talk about this a little bit.
Good morning. I just wanted to give a little bit of background on this this contract. So the county has had a long-standing relationship with Metropolitan Family Services, formerly Family Shelter Service. The two organizations merged a couple of years ago. The county assists that organization with maintaining presence in the courtrooms, and the courthouse. So what they do, the victims advocacy staff, they do basically two primary responsibilities. Number one is they respond to all police calls that relate to domestic violence. So Metropolitan reaches out to the victims in any kind of domestic violence police call. Last year, that was 5,927 police responses that they performed. The other major task that they do with this grant is assisting with the development or request for orders of protection. Last year, there were 1,380 orders of protection that Metropolitan Family Services was instrumental in getting granted for victims of domestic violence. So again, this is a long-standing contract that the county has had. It goes back to when the county had our psychological services division, which is now under the health department, but we provided education classes for perpetrators of domestic violence, anger management, and other services for the perpetrators. And so as sort of the other side of that, we also provided services for victims of domestic violence. I do want to point out this contract is from December. It's for this fiscal year. I know the board does not like it when contracts are retroactive. We don't really like it either. But we had some challenges there's been leadership change. We had some challenges getting the signed contract back from Metropolitan.
Yeah.
How many DV advocates are there?
I don't know the number of staff. The 85,000 covers, it is a salary amount. So I believe it covers probably one full-time person with benefits. But in terms of the actual number of people over there, I know that we are not 100% funding. We are a percentage of the funding for those services.
Thank you. So this 85,000, first of all, let me just say, welcome Chairman, Chair. So this 85,000, I'm hearing you say it's mostly for legal costs?
It is for salaries for staff of Metropolitan Family Services who maintain presence in the courthouse.
Okay, I gotcha. Okay, so what my question is, could you remind me what there's another tranche of money that I believe DuPage County donates to the actual shelter and maintaining the shelter. Julie and I visited that. Have you visited the shelter
We,
a
well,
couple years ago?
we were major funders for the construction of the shelter.
Okay. Should we give money for maintenance?
Both for acquisition and then for some significant remodeling and expansion that was done a couple of years ago, Dave or Gina, I don't believe we provide any operating funding for the actual shelter itself.
We provided CSBG funding for them.
For the hotel, that was
For
for the
hotels.
hotels.
Okay, you're
I'm not
remembering
talking about
that?
the yes, it is. I'm not talking about the hotels. I'm talking about that actual structure.
I don't believe we provide any annual operating funding
Because
for
they
the
don't ask
shelter itself.
us?
They don't ask us, and I don't know that we have any state or federal grants for which that would be eligible.
So they would be,
They would be eligible under ESG.
well, and they would get public service. They're not eligible under ESG because of the whole.
I was gonna say they
HMIS.
would be, but they don't use the HMIS.
Yeah, so, but they are scheduled to get a public service grant for 2023 CDBG, but that just
Okay.
pays for salaries. It's no operational support for the
Right.
building. It's just a little bit for salaries.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Chair.
And if I'm correct, is this the only entity that offers these types of services in Page County or?
They are, there's an organization called Hamdar that does some domestic
Similar.
violence services, but Metropolitan is basically the designated agency that all police departments are required to reach out to.
Thank you very much. Any other questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Motion passes. On to Community Development Commission. I need a motion to approve item HSR 4123, resolution for a recommendation for approval of the sale and assumption of terms, conditions, and responsibilities of a home investment partnership act agreement between Maple Court and the Ogden Court Apartments for a total amount of $1,100,000. We have a motion by member
Second.
LaPlante, second by member Garcia. Member Gustin, sure.
Quick question. Is this only for structural components of it? Are the terms for, or is it more for salaries and all of that stuff?
I should clarify, we are not providing any additional funding for this. This is approving the sale from one entity to another
That's
of a
great.
property that we invested in many, many years ago. There is still an outstanding loan of about $1 million on that property. So what the transfer of that loan obligation also includes the obligation of the new buyer to maintain the affordability level of it. So it's not any new funding. What the funding would have been for when we first got involved in this was a new construction project.
Because it is an aging building. That's the only reason I'm asking. So if new buyers are buying it, I'm just curious if they're gonna upgrade anything or modify anything. I know they did just get a new sign, but the rest of the building is, it is what it is.
They did have some plans to do upgrading, I think in the neighborhood of 650,000, I'm not sure, but the new buyer, that's just off the top of my head, but the new buyer was planning on investing some money in improving.
I should also introduce Dave.
Hi.
For those of you who haven't met him, Dave McDermott is our administrator of community development. So he's in charge of CDBG, home, ESG, weatherization, and lighting, and giving DuPage.
Any other questions on this? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Motion passes. I need a motion to approve item HSR 4223, resolution for a recommendation for approval of the substantial amendment to the 2021 action plan, the fourth overall amendment for allocation of Home American Rescue Plan funds.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by member LaPlante, second by member Garcia. Any questions or comments? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Welcome, member Childress.
How are you?
Good, good. We're on item 7C. I need a motion to approve item HSR 4023, a resolution for 2023 annual action plan to DuPage County Consortium, the first reading, the acceptance of the 2023 action plan element, public comment period of the 2020 through 2024 consolidated plan for the Community Development Block Grant, Home Investment Partnership, and Emergency Solutions Grant programs to qualify and receive the Department of Housing and Urban Development grant.
Second.
Motion by member Garcia, second by member Desart. Any questions or comments on this? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Motion passes. On the DuPage Care Center, I need a motion to approve item HSCO 723, an amendment to contract 5248-0001, serve issued to Lind Gas and Equipment to furnish and deliver oxygen, helium, and carbon dioxide for the period of June 1st, 2021 through May 31st, 2023 to increase encumbrance in the amount of $4,000 to cover purchases through the end of the contract for a new purchase order in the amount not to exceed $26,332. Motion by member Desart,
Second.
second by member LaPlante. Any questions or comments? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. On to travel, I need a motion to approve item A, authorization for overnight travel, weatherization assessor to attend the energy auditor training for certification in Champaign, Illinois from March 12th, 2023 through March 17th, 2023. Expenses to include lodging, miscellaneous expenses, and per diem for the approximate total amount of $1,801.25.
Second.
Motion by member Garcia, second by member LaPlante. Any questions or comments on this? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? I'm going to take a motion to combine consent items 10A, 10B, 10C, 10D.
So moved.
A consent item decrease encumbrance for advanced Advocare systems in the amount of $79,000. Item B, DuPage Federation on Human Services reform, decrease and close the PO. Item C, healthy air heating and air, decrease and close the PO. And item D, healthy air and heating and air, decrease and close that PO. We have
Second.
a motion by member Desart, second by member Garcia. Questions or comments on combining? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, I need a motion to approve the consent items 10A, the decrease in encumbrance for Advocare systems, 10B, DuPage Federation on Human Services reform, 10C, healthy air, heating and air, and 10D, healthy air, heating and air. We have a motion by Ms. Allen. Member Desart, second by member Garcia. Any questions or comments? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, thank you very much. I believe Janelle is on Zoom. Do we have any residency waivers, Janelle?
We do not today. Good morning.
Okay. Then we're gonna move on to the DuPage Care Center update. Janelle.
So I think we have Jason in the room, as well as Diane Borski and Mario Plata. Diane is our manager of support services, and Mario is the dining services manager. These two individuals oversee our dietitians and all of the complex diets that we serve at the care center, but they also oversee the cafes in the 505, the 421. They are here today to talk with you about some potential renovations to the 505 and 421 cafes to make them more efficient and user-friendly. So I'm going to pass it over. I'm not sure if Jason, you want to start, or if you want me just to have Diane start.
Diane, all for it.
I'm here.
Thank you.
Thank you for having me. So what we're looking for is to do an upgrade in our cafeterias. For those of you who are new to the board, we have 3 cafeterias on campus, one in 421 here, one in 505, and then we have one in the care center as well. We're only looking to upgrade equipment in the 505 and 421 buildings. The equipment in both of those cafeterias are anywhere from 15 to 20 plus years old. Just like at home, your appliances come to their end of life. They need some upgrades. That's where we're at with most of our cooking equipment. Some of them aren't working. Some are just, we're hanging on by the skin of our teeth. So we are looking to upgrade the equipment. Not only does the equipment need upgraded, but the new equipment out there, kitchen equipment's come a long way. There's a lot of new technology that we can use to increase efficiencies, which helps with our staffing challenges that we have right now. It'll help us improve the number of menu items that we offer, as well as increase quality by serving more made-to-order food. So I don't know if some of you, I recognize that we're at our breakfast in the 421 cafeteria. So if you look at it, you can see it's a lot of stainless steel, a lot of older equipment. So we're really looking to upgrade to make it look a little more aesthetically pleasing. People eat with their eyes. So we like to have some nicer display items. I'm not going to go through every piece of equipment that we're looking for, but some of the highlights that we're looking, some of the highlights and the pieces that we're looking for, there's one that's a combi oven. That thing does a little of everything. It steams it, it broils, it grills, it cooks, roasts. It does a little of everything, all in one piece of equipment. That would be for 421, where we're really lacking cooking equipment. Right now, we have one oven there to work with and one griddle in the front of the line, as well as a deep fryer.
Deep right.
So also for the back of the house, we're looking for a stand mixer. If any of you got to meet Raphael, he loves to bake. So he's really looking to increase how many home baked goods we can serve in the cafeteria for our customers. For the front of the line, display equipment, a new griddle, a new stovetop, a quick cook oven that we can do, you know, made to order individual pizzas, flatbreads. They're made in like 2 or 3 minutes. So if you've ever gone to like Mod Pizza, it's the same type of technology. So for 505, it's really, we're just looking to replace broken equipment. We have broken reach-in coolers. We have a broken freezer. We have a steamer that hasn't worked in 2 years. So we're just really looking to replace some of those. So any questions?
Member Garcia.
Yeah, I guess, you know, this definitely seems like it's, you know, about time, quite honestly. One of the things that impressed me is that with some of the equipment you're going to address like the food allergies, like gluten and things like that.
Yeah,
So-
yeah.
Yeah, so I was really excited to see that because it seems like that's something that should be addressed because we
Yeah.
need to be making sure that no one's getting sick while eating in our
Right,
cafeteria.
so in 421 and 505, we're getting, I'm gonna call it a stovetop. It's a different name on your list, but it's a stovetop. So we have 2 burners. We can use one for meat entrees and one meatless, or if it's gluten-free, the meatless entrees that pan would work. And same with 505, we're gonna have a bigger cooktop. So that way we can they're a lot busier over there, so we do need more, but we can address the food allergies.
Perfect.
Yep.
Sorry.
Remind me of the total cost?
It's about 170,000. One of the big oven that we have on there includes the installation. There could potentially be a smaller, about $4,500 for installation fees for the rest of the equipment, but I have to work with Tim and FM and see if we're gonna do it or if we should have someone come
And
in.
is that money coming out of, was this requested in the budget?
No, so this wasn't in the budget as is, however, we're working with finance to talk about that and possibly with contingencies funds.
Okay.
We had some capital
Yeah.
budget, but not enough to cover this.
Okay, and my final question is, what is the plan for the 421 cafeteria? Because I know it was shut down during COVID, it's opening a little bit more and more, but it used to have like breakfast and lunch and a really
Staffing
robust
challenges
menu.
is what's affecting
Is
that.
that? the
That's
problem?
really it. Our number one goal is to feed our residents at the care center.
Right.
Cafeterias come next. We're doing the best we can to keep 421 open for the staff. We know it's a benefit for them. We don't want them to leave the building if they don't have to. We want it to be a convenience for them. But right now, staffing challenges is what's holding us back from getting back to where we were pre-COVID.
Thanks, man. Thanks.
Member Children. Sorry, Carrie. Member Children.
Pre-COVID, how many on any given day did you have go through 421 and 505?
For the 421, we used to see an average around 400 to 500 transactions. At the 505 is around 900 transactions a day before COVID.
Before COVID.
Before COVID, yeah.
Anything else? Member Children? Member Glassy.
Thank you. I was just curious how, like, what percentage is your workforce down to be able to get back to those numbers?
Dining services alone, I think we're 50% down. So we have, I think, 39 positions filled and about the same open right now.
Yeah.
So in all of support services, we're seeing the same thing with housekeeping as well.
Any other questions or comments?
So one thing we're looking for is direction from the board. The reason it's not on here as a procurement item is because before getting all the other information, we want to know, is this something the board is interested in investing in and going forward? If you guys are comfortable with that, we'll have dining services prepared for the 7th human services meeting, so you guys can see the procurement requisition.
I have a couple more questions by me, and then I'll kind of get a little bit of feedback from the members. So is our cafeteria, is it a break even? Is it a money maker? Is it, I mean, put in our budget knowing that we're gonna lose money on this or?
In the past, it's always been we've made money. The revenue does go back to the care center.
Okay.
So that's always, our goal is not to break even. 421 may be closer to that, just because of the nature of the building and our client, we're limited at 505. We have a lot more outside people coming in. We have the judge, it's the courthouse, so we do have a lot more.
So typically it's a revenue maker and that money goes to our care center. Okay, so going back to Jason's question, do we want to have this on our agenda as a voted item for our next meeting? Questions, sure, go ahead.
When you do the numbers, will you work in the return on investment? When, what is that anticipated date? You spend money today, when will you break even? What the projected date?
I think it will, a lot it will have to do when we fill positions, but just for, previous COVID, our revenue used to hit close to $1 million a year. So some years was a little bit better, was $1.1 million a year in revenue. So I think once we get the equipment and the positions filled, we will be better, and in a better position to go back to where we were before COVID.
Okay, but again, the question for me is, at what date, if you spend the money now, what date will you be breaking it?
We can look into the rate of return or the ROI on that one.
Well, and I imagine some of that with COVID and without the lack of staff.
Right.
I mean, are we losing money right now on, does anybody have an answer?
No, right now, even though between the two cafeterias and this, because staffing is so low, we still making money,
Okay.
not like we were doing
Sure.
before COVID,
Okay.
but we still,
Good to know.
bring revenue, yes.
We're getting closer. I mean, our staffing is improving, especially in dining services slowly. So we're hoping, because 400, we don't even have that cafeteria open. That one's closed. And actually for everyone in the county, if they deserve it the most, I wish we could open for them, but we're getting closer to that. So.
And this is Janelle, and based on return on investment, the 421 cafe, if we make it more, we expect these changes to increase prior to COVID, our traffic and sales. So return on investment would then be projected much shorter, because we did do a study of all of the county employees regarding what they would like to see served out of the 421. So we have all that data. If we can get the equipment and the efficiencies and actually offer the items that Diane and Mario would like to offer, we really feel those sales will do nothing but be higher than what we had pre-COVID. So we can try and do some estimates on return on investment, but it's not just doing this equipment to get to prior sales. We really expect them to increase with these offerings.
Thank you, Janelle. Any other questions? Okay, can I get a show of hands who would like to see this on our next agenda? Okay, unanimous. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for your presentation.
Sure.
Janelle, did you, I don't know if you're still there. Janelle, did you have anything else for the DuPage Care Center update?
I would just say that the variant that's going through the care center now is extremely contagious. We do have a full COVID unit. When we have cases pop up, they generally were moving 6-10 people down to the COVID unit, and then their roommates go down into the PUI, persons under investigation section. So this variant we're finding to be very, the transmission rate is very high. We test much higher than the regulations require. Annabelle and my team, they're doing point of care testing, but they're also doing PCRs multiple times a day at times, because people are literally negative in the morning and positive in the evening. That's how much she's staying on top of it. So the team is very stretched right now with the multiple testings and keeping everyone safe. But when we do have an outbreak on a particular unit, we've been very successful to keep it to that unit. And then usually it pops up in another unit, whether it's a staff or families. We still have families coming in. We can't prevent visits. So that's still occurring. We still have residents going out. And this is not unexpected given the holidays and all of those family celebrations. So they're really struggling, but they're top notch. So
We have a question from Member Garcia.
Absolutely.
Just quick question for you, Janelle. Are you requiring masks when everybody comes in to visit their relatives?
Yes, and the staff are wearing an N95 and a shield, which is
Okay.
higher than the expected regulation.
All right, perfect.
So if they're in a resident care area, everybody that, even if I go to a resident care area, I wear an N95 and a shield.
Okay, good.
Janelle, have we had any hospitalizations?
We have, yes,
Okay.
we have. But we haven't had any expirations. I would say these symptoms that we have more people with symptoms, but we don't have people with significant like we did really early on of COVID. It's just more symptoms than we've had in the previous variant. We could be the study for the United States, just based on the volume. I mean, we've learned so much through the years. So Annabelle and her team, like I said, they're on it. And that's why we were recognized across the nation for our COVID diligence award that we received.
Well, and yes, well-deserved, as Vice Chair Garcia said, and thank you very much for all you do for and your staff for our most vulnerable populations.
They're awesome. Thank you. Thank you for your support.
On to Mary Keating for Community Services updates.
Thank you. Just a few quick things. I just wanted to go back for a second to items 7B and C. Those were both approvals for action plans for various HUD grants. I just want to acknowledge the enormous amount of work that that was undertaken by Julie Hamlin and her staff in the Community Development Unit. Particularly 7B, the home ARP item, HUD required a whole new set of public consultation eligibility, and it probably reflects at least a year, maybe a year and a half of work on their part. So I just want to acknowledge the hard work by the community development staff. A reminder that at 11:30 today, the Community Services Block Grant Advisory Committee meets. As a member of HHS, you are all automatically appointed to the CSBG Advisory Committee. That's the committee that we have by virtue of our designation as Community Action Agency. So a Community Action Agency is designated through the state. We are we're referred to as the anti-poverty organization for the county. And as part of our the regulations that oversee the community action programs, we're required to have a committee that's made up of 1/3 elected officials, 1/3 representatives of individuals in poverty, and 1/3 other community members. And so all members of HHS are automatically appointed to CSBG. So I hope you can make it at 11:30 today. We had some internal meetings last week following up on the discussion at Finance, both about ICNA relief and Poised for Success, those specific requests that were made to the board, as well as the concept of assistance for small nonprofits. So we've got a couple of phone calls this week with leadership from Human Services and Finance Committee on those topics. And so we hope to bring something forward probably at the next Human Services meeting for some, if not all, of those concepts. I think that's all I have for today.
Good question. How about the meeting at 11:30? Is that every same week, or how often is that?
Quarterly, right, Gina? Gina Stratford Ahmed is our administrator of intake and referral. She oversees the CSBG program. So for those of you who have not been, Gina,
Where's the meeting?
it's in 3500 next door. Right next
So it's
door.
once a quarter.
It's a quarterly meeting, yes.
April 18th, July 18th, and October 17th. It's on the bottom of the agenda.
Any other questions for Mary? Thank you very much.
Okay.
Do we have any old
July
business?
18th and October 17th.
Seeing none, do we have any new business? My only new business is my apologies. I forgot to recognize a couple guests in our attendance today. Member, you and was Member Guston here?
She was.
So I usually try to recognize, so my apologies. With nothing else, motion to adjourn.
So moved.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?